If you had told me 3 years ago that buying a quiet ranch in northern Arizona would drag me into a war with an HOA I never even agreed to join, I would have laughed in your face. Back then, I was just a tired ex-construction guy trying to escape noise, neighbors, and nonsense. All I wanted was open sky, horses, and mornings where the loudest sound I heard was my old Labrador shaking her collar. But then came the day I stepped outside and saw the fence. Their fence, slicing across my land like a scar. That's how all this started. I remember standing on my front porch, coffee mug in hand, halfway through my first sip, when something felt wrong. Too wrong. I walked toward the pasture and froze. A brand new chain-link fence, tall and shiny and absolutely not mine, cut straight across my driveway and wrapped around my front gate. And right in the center, like a cherry on a nightmare sundae, hung a tiny little padlock. The kind you'd use on a high school locker, except this one held my entire life hostage. At first, I honestly thought someone delivered it to the wrong property, because who the hell builds a fence on someone else's land without even knocking? Then I saw the sign. A big, bold, obnoxious metal sign that read, "Property access under Regional Meadows HOA jurisdiction." It felt like somebody sucker punched me in the ribs. I stood there whispering, "What? HOA?" I didn't buy into an HOA. But apparently they had bought into me. That's when she showed up. Eloise Granger, the HOA president. Imagine a hawk wrapped in pearls and hairspray. She strutted toward me in her beige blazer, waving like we were neighbors at a potluck. "Morning," she sang, all smug and sugary. "I trust you noticed our improvements." Improvements? I clenched my jaw so hard it felt like my molars cracked. "That's my gate," I told her. She raised a brow like I'd told her the sky was green. "Oh, sweetheart, the access road technically belongs to the HOA. You're welcome to request a key through the proper channels." She tapped the lock like it was some kind of trophy. I swear, in that moment, something in me snapped, but also, something woke up. For the next week, I tried to be the bigger person. I called the office. I emailed. I filed forms. Every day I'd find a new bright orange notice stuffed under my barn door. Unauthorized trespassing. Improper usage of common access path. Potential fines pending. One even said, "Animals must not roam HOA property." My horses. On my land. I laughed so hard I scared them. But underneath that laughter was something bitter, something growing. I felt small, boxed in like a stray dog peering through its own cage. Then one morning, after another failed phone call where Eloise said, "You must be patient. Governance takes time," I walked the perimeter of the fence searching for any weak spot. The posts were cemented. The metal was new. The padlock? Upgraded to a thicker one. Whoever installed this thing wanted it to stay. My horses trotted after me, nudging my shoulder like they could sense I was losing it. And honestly, I was. That's when I found it. A county map online showing that narrow sliver of land under the gate didn't belong to me. But it also didn't belong to the HOA. It was a separate parcel. A skinny little strip forgotten in some clerical limbo. And it was for sale. My heart thumped. My dad always told me, if someone tries to box you in, don't push the walls. Move the property lines. So that's exactly what I planned to do. The same week I started drafting an offer. Things escalated fast. One morning I walked outside, and the padlock was gone. I thought maybe they were finally backing off. But instead, a long flatbed truck rolled up with crates stacked taller than me. Workers jumped off before the dust settled, unloading metal beams and scaffolding. Eloise stepped out from behind them like a Disney villain making her entrance. "We're reinforcing your access point," she said. "Temporary limitations for safety." I swear I felt heat rise into my ears. "This is my land," I shouted back. She smiled like she'd been waiting to hear those exact words. "Not this strip of it," she said, tapping her clipboard. I documented everything. Photos. Videos, dates, times. My lawyer told me, stay calm, collect evidence, don't engage. Easier said than done when people are literally installing a cage around your driveway. But I did my best. My horses felt my stress. They paced the fence line, snorting, kicking dust. I leaned my forehead into their warm necks and whispered, "I promise I'm not letting anyone take this from us." It became a prayer. The intimidation continued. Notices. Unannounced inspections. People creeping around at night. One evening, I found tire tracks so close to the barn my mare refused to settle for hours. Then came the fire. A small blaze at first, flames curling up the dry grass near the HOA strip. I dropped everything, grabbed hoses, stomped embers with my boots until the air reeked of smoke and panic. The fire didn't reach the barn, but it reached something else. It reached the line in me that said enough is enough. But the craziest part? I wasn't alone. One evening, I saw a movement in the trees and nearly grabbed a shovel to defend myself. Turns out it was a young guy, early 20s, holding a camera like it was a shield. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said, hands trembling. "I'm documenting the HOA. They've been doing shady stuff around here, and your ranch is like the grand finale." I blinked at him, stunned. He had pictures, videos, dates, logs, proof that I wasn't losing my mind. We teamed up, walking the fence line every morning, recording every change, every intrusion. He wasn't just a filmmaker. He was the first person in weeks who made me feel seen. Neighbors joined too. Quietly at first. A casserole, a post-it note that said "Stay strong," then stories of their own HOA nightmares. I realized this wasn't just my battle. I was fighting for every person who had ever been bullied by people hiding behind rules. When I finally submitted the offer to buy that skinny strip of land, I felt like I was launching a rocket built out of hope and pettiness. Days passed, then weeks. More fires, more workers. At one point they brought in a literal crane with steel panels, boxing the gate in like some medieval fortress. One night, a truck rolled up with torches, actual torches, trying to dismantle the padlock so they could replace it again. My filmmaker friend recorded everything. I called my lawyer, shaking. She told me, "They're pushing because they're scared. Keep documenting. You're winning." And then, the letter arrived. "Your offer has been accepted." I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the paper like it might disappear if I blinked. I signed the final documents with neighbors as witnesses. When the county official handed me the new deed, my hands shook. When they handed me the new key, they shook harder. I walked up to the gate, my filmmaker friend recording from behind. The horses gathered at the fence, ears forward, watching like they somehow knew this moment mattered. I slid the key in, turned it, and the lock clicked open with the softest, sweetest sound I've ever heard. I swung the gate open. Sunlight spilled through the opening like a spotlight. I stepped through, slow and steady, feeling each inch of freedom return to me. The next morning, Eloise drove by, slowed her SUV, stared at the open gate, and sped off. No words, no lecture, no victory speech, just silence. Maybe that's the biggest defeat a bully can suffer, seeing the person they tried to break still standing, stronger than before. Life returned to normal over the next few weeks. Horses grazing, dusty sunsets. The filmmaker kid turned his footage into a documentary and asked to interview me. I told him, "As long as you don't make me look like a cowboy who cries every 10 minutes. I did cry. Twice. But here's the twist. Last month, I got a letter. Not from the HOA, from a lawyer representing a new buyer trying to purchase the land next to mine. Someone who wants access continuity. Sounds harmless, right? But the name on the paperwork was Granger, Eloise's son. So now I'm sitting here wondering, is peace ever permanent? Or do some people just wait for their next chance to control what isn't theirs? I guess that's where you come in. Tell me what you think. Was I right to fight back? Should HOAs have this much power? Have you ever dealt with someone who hid behind rules to bully others? Drop your stories in the comments. I guarantee you're not the only one who's lived through something like this. And hey, if you want part 2 when Eloise Jr. tries his luck, let me know.